Welcome back. Let's quickly have a look at this short subtopic, and it's on finding the values of x, which makes or make relations undefined. So let's have an understanding of what undefined functions, relations, or mappings is. So basically, when we say an equation or a mathematical expression is undefined, it means that when you equate it to it's simply equal to when it is equal to 0, right? I don't want to speak much about it. It's simply when you equate it to 0. So after equating it to 0, you may be asked to find a variable or not. So basically, in simple terms or literally, a relation, an expression is undefined when it is equal to 0, right? So that's what we are looking at. So we are saying that in any relation of the form x mapping to f of x over g of x is undefined or not defined if g of x is equal to 0. So here we are looking at the denominator, right? So when the denominator is equal to 0. In some fractions or maybe expression or a question, you may be asked generally that equation or that expression without basically being specific about that. So here we are looking at the fact that when the denominator is equal to 0, right? So that is the relation is undefined if the denominator is equal to 0. So the first example is example 1. Find the value of x, which makes the mapping x mapping onto 4 over x plus 3 undefined. So what it means is that equate that denominator to 0 and look for the value of x. So when you do that, x will be equal to -3, right? So you just equate it to first of all equate that expression to 0 and then find the value of x. Now the second example, which also talks about find the value of x, which makes the relation f(x), why am I saying f? X mapping onto 1 over x squared plus 3x plus 2, not defined. So undefined, another expression is not defined. So here we are talking about what? The denominator, right? So here in this particular subtopic, our focus is on the denominator. Now, so in this case, you equate that quadratic equation, right? We know what a quadratic equation is. So we equate this one to 0, and then we look for the value of x. Now, we realize that at the end of the calculation, we have two values. So now here is simply equate this one to 0. This is where we use what we learned some time ago. Let me chip in this. Just look here, this particular one, right? So equate that one to 0, and then we do the math. So after getting that, you realize that we are getting here we derive this method of calculation through when we were dealing with factorization, the third method, right? So that is it. So here you find that x into bracket x plus 1, also into bracket x plus 2, which is all equal to 0. So we take one expression, equate it to 0, you find the value of x, and then take one expression, equate it to 0, and find the value. So here you realize that we get two variables or two values for x. So that is it. In some situations, you may be asked further to be specific for looking for the value of x. So they may say that for which the value of x is positive, or for which the value of x is negative. So you have to look out for that second condition. So that is basically what it's about, finding the value of a variable when that expression is equal to 0. So that is it. We'll see the next one where, in fact, gradually you have been doing well. You have done well, and we are done with the mappings, relations, and functions. So the next one is to move on to graphs. You know, we told you earlier that a number of subtopics under mapping, relations, and all that. So one of the expressions is actually graphs. So the next one will be introduction to graphs, what we mean by graphs, the requirements, the items, the elements that we need under that. So we see you soon. Stay blessed. Bye for now.